right, so today we're going to start learning our objective 2, which starts with learning target 4, and that is that I can graph the line in point slope form, slope intercept form, or standard form. These first two equations are in slope intercept form. Remember that the f of x is like y, so this says y equals mx plus b. Our m is a 3, and our b is a -5. Now in slope-intercept form, you need to first think about the pieces of information that you have. Here you have the slope, 3, or we could say that that's 3 over 1. And we also have the, we also have the y-intercept. So if I zoom in here so you can see a little bit better, if we have a y-intercept and we have a slope, this y-intercept is a point that we know that's on our graph, and that is 0, -5, because that's the y-intercept. So I'm going to start there. So 0 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, -5. 3, 4, down there. So never mind that. So I'm starting down here at 0, -5, and then from there my slope is 3 over 1. So from this point, I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1, make a dot. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1, make a dot. And there's my line. So I had my starting place at the y-intercept, and from there, I followed my slope, up 3 over 1. If you look at this one, now my y-intercept is 0, 1. So that's my starting place. So I can put a dot at 0, 1, which is 1 on the y-axis. And then my slope is 1 over 4. So I'm going to go from my starting place up 1 over 4. And then up 1 over 4. And so that's my line. So to graph a line in slope-intercept form, your y-intercept is the starting place on the y-axis, and then you just go where the slope tells you to go. Point-slope form is a similar idea. You have a starting place, and then you go where the slope tells you to go, but this time the starting place is not the y-axis. This time the starting place is the point that the equation tells you. Now, this right here and this right here, those are the points that the equation gives you. So remember that point-slope form is y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. This y1 and this x1, that is your x and y coordinate where you are going to start, because that point is a point on this line. So notice though that this minus is part of the equation. So this minus does not actually reflect on this 6. The minus is part of the equation. The y coordinate is just the 6. So where it's y minus the y coordinate, that means that it's y minus 6. 6 is the y coordinate. Now my x coordinate, if there's supposed to be a subtraction symbol in the equation, that's like x minus a -3. Because it has to be x minus your x coordinate. So instead of writing a plus sign, I'm going to think of this as subtracting a negative. Because when you subtract a negative, it's the same as adding. So if I think of this as x minus my x coordinate is actually a -3. So I'm going to start at this point. I'm going to start at -3, +6, right there. And now from that starting place, I'm going to go where my slope tells me to go. Over here, my starting place was the y-intercept. Over here, my starting place was the point that the equation told me. This is my y-coordinate, this is my x-coordinate, which is really a negative 3. So from here, I'm going to go up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. Because my slope is 1 over 2. So if you notice, the fact that this looks like a minus 6, my actual y-coordinate was a positive 6. In the equation, this looks like a plus 3, so my actual coordinate, x-coordinate, is a negative 3. In point-slope form, your actual coordinate will always be the opposite of what these look like, because the minus is actually part of the equation. So down here, my actual starting x-coordinate is going to actually be a positive 4. Because this minus is part of the equation. I'm just looking right there. My actual y-coordinate is actually a negative 2. Because that is really like y minus a negative 2. So negative 2 is my actual y-coordinate. So that is my starting place. So I'm going to go over 4, down 2. And then from that starting place, I'm going to do my slope, which is 1/2 again. So I'm going to go up 1, over 2. Up 1, over 2. Rise over run. There we go. So in both slope-intercept form and point-slope form, I had a starting place, either the y-intercept or this point in my equation, which is the opposite of what each of these coordinates look like. And then I just did my slope from there. To graph an equation in standard form, we don't have a slope, but we can pretty easily get 2 points. And all you need is 2 points to graph a line. So I'm going to find the x and y intercept, and those will be my 2 points. So if I kind of separate this a little here, to get the x-intercept, I put in 0 for y. So I have 3x minus 4 times 0 equals 24. Well, negative 4 times 0 is just 0, so that goes away. And I have 3x equals 24. So to find x, I divide both sides by 3 to get rid of that 3, so x is 8. So my x-intercept is 8, 0, which is right there. Now I can find the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, I put 0 in for x. So I have 3 times 0 minus 4y equals 24. 3 times 0 is just 0, so that goes away. So I just have negative 4y equals 24. Divide both sides by negative 4. So y is negative 6, which means that that is 0, negative 6, right there. And now that I have 2 points, I can graph my line. This equation is actually the same because I forgot to change it when I made these notes. So we're going to change it right now. So we're going to make this an 8x. And we're going to make this a 2 minus 2y equals 16. So turn this equation into 8x minus 2y equals 16. Now again, to find the x-intercept, we put 0 in for y. So we have 8x minus 2 times 0 equals 16. Negative 2 times 0 is just 0, so that's really 8x equals 16. Well, to figure out what x is, if you can't do that in your head, you can always solve it out by dividing both sides by 8. And 16 divided by 8 is 2. So the x-intercept is 2, 0. right there. Now the y-intercept we put 0 in for x. So we have 8 times 0 minus 2y equals 16. Well, 8 times 0 is just 0, so that goes away. We have negative 2y equals 16. Divide by negative 2. So y equals negative 8, which means our y coordinate is 0, negative 8, which is down here. Oh, I made a mistake. X is 2. So the x-intercept should be right there, not that one. Ignore that top one. So my x-intercept is 2, 0. My y-intercept is 0, negative 8. So my line looks like that. And that is all for learning target 4.